Hi, welcome to Mac and Me. I'm Tyra, Mistress of the Imaginarium. Join me as I revisit all 6 seasons of the glue that once held my geeky Saturday afternoons together. Each episode, I will take a deep dive into each season based on story, characters, guest stars, and fights. Each section will receive katanas on a scale of 1 to 5. Also, I will be giving out what I call the Golden Clan MacLeod Broadsword, awarded to the what the fuck moments or episodes that I just couldn't shake. So, without further ado, and careful for spoilers, let's crack in. In Season 2, we continue to follow the adventures of Duncan MacLeod, a 400-year-old immortal who can only die if he is beheaded. And that is because MacLeod is part of what's called the Game, an ongoing battle between all immortals who continue to fight one another until only one is left. After the success of Season 1, David Abrahamowitz, who served as head writer / creative consultant and is considered to be the guiding force behind Highlander, wanted the story to be more than the evil bad guy with a sword format they had going every week. Quote, I began to think of the moral and ethical dilemmas of being immortal and asking questions like, what would it really be like on the human soul for someone to live 500 or 1,000 years? End quote. Star Adrian Paul felt much the same way. And so from that point on, Highlander became about how Duncan is caught in the dilemma of doing what he feels needs to be done, but always having doubt as to whether it actually needs to be done, or is he acting out of some sort of pride or arrogance. And with that, we pick up right after the Season 1 finale. In the finale, Duncan's friend and mentor Darius was killed by a group of humans. Soon after, Duncan and crew move back to the States, and he tracks the group down to a bookstore where he meets Joe Dawson, a Watcher. It's here that we learn that the Watchers are an ancient secret society that is aware of immortals with the mission to observe and record, but never interfere. Dawson is Duncan's Watcher, and the group that killed Darius and has been killing other immortals is actually a renegade group calling themselves the Hunters. The Hunters believe that all immortals are an abomination and shouldn't exist. The group is also led by Dawson's brother-in-law, James Horton, which puts Joe in quite the pickle. The Hunters become the driving force throughout the season, featuring in several episodes, and Horton slowly evolves into Duncan's nemesis. Now, I can't help but be delighted by Horton. It's like he wants to be a supervillain so bad. He's got the trench coat, he's got the minions, he has a mission, right? But he doesn't seem to know that he doesn't quite have what it takes to be a final boss. And it's this mismatch that actually makes him great. The biggest change in Season 2 came in the form of the death of Tessa Noel, which came about because French actress Alexandre Vandermeut decided she wasn't enjoying the series grind and did not want to spend so much time in Canada. She asked for and was granted release from her contract. Unlike most Fridge the Wife moments, Tessa's death seems to be done with the intention of honoring not only the themes of the show, but also the depth of love between Duncan and Tessa. Duncan openly mourns Tessa the whole season, and we as the audience gets to participate in this grief every time Duncan encounters a routine experience, whether it's the antique shop or the Paris barge, but this time without Tessa. It's a nuance that's much appreciated, not to mention that after Duncan's montage of remembering Tessa at the end of that episode, I never quite heard Dust in the Wind the same again. So for story-wise this season, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 katanas. What can I say? They wanted to up their game, and it shows. In the fourth episode of the season called The Darkness, Duncan rescues Tessa from a hunter that has been using the loved ones of immortals as bait to lure them so that he can kill them, only to lose her shortly after to a random act of violence by a carjacker who shoots both her and Richie, who is there to help with the rescue. Tessa dies, but Richie is revealed to be an immortal. Richie's immortality is really the jumping point of his growing up, and I really like the change. In season 1, Richie was somewhat of a third wheel and sometimes just too stupid for his own good. Here, Richie's negativity is used to challenge Duncan's need to be right, like in the episode Under the Color of Authority, where Duncan and Richie find themselves on opposite sides when Richie protects a woman who is being chased by an immortal bounty hunter. It ultimately leads to both of them separating for a while after a fight. I also dig how an immortal's first teacher is almost like a vampire sire and can be seen just as deep and long-lasting. As a matter of fact, like 2 whole episodes are dedicated to this theme, one being legacy and the other prodigal son, adding to the show's like mythology. And it, to me, is an example of a very human theme that sometimes it's the families that we create that can shape us and give us the longest lasting bond. Another addition to the series is Charlie DeSalvo, who Duncan buys his new dojo from. A move that diversifies the main cast, so good for them. There's not much to Charlie other than to be the human POV character and trying to find out who Duncan really is. So for this season, I'm going to give 4 out of 5 katanas. I think it really works out as far as characters. We have nuances and depth between Richie growing up and Duncan realizing that maybe he's not always right. Once again, Highlander in season 2 is a 90s all-you-can-eat buffet with appearances from Tracy Lords, Sheena Easton, and Roddy Piper. In season 2, we are also graced with the return of Amanda. Seriously, that is the title of the episode. Yes, she is a lying, spoiled trickster, but that's why we love her. And it seems to be that's why Duncan loves her too. She shakes up his world and makes him happy. I also like how the show starts to turn her from a conniving baddie who only lies and Duncan is too stupid to seem to see through it, but as someone who is his friend and sincerely wants to change. Even though after 1,000 years of running cons, she kind of finds it's a hard habit to break. We also see that she genuinely loves McLeod and even tries to tempt him with the prospect of playing house for about 70 or 80 years. And because of their immortality, their love can be read as something unique and different from the type of love that's between Tessa and Duncan. It's not a matter of better or worse, it's just simply different. Another cool episode is Run for Your Life, which Duncan's immortal friend Carl Robinson, played by Bruce A. Young, is being chased by a racist policeman who turns out to be a hunter. Now, for context, this episode aired about a year after the Rodney King trial and riots and just over a year before the OJ trial. So you're talking about a time when racial tension was at an all-time high and a really triggering topic for most people. And it's great to see that we never had such a time again. The main question the episode seems to ask is, what would immortality be like for you if you were Black, born into slavery, and then lived all the years until the present? Short answer, it would suck. In the episode, this particular hunter's beliefs about immortality and immortals can be seen as a read on racism as a whole, while Duncan's and Carl's relationship symbolizes the hope that Carl can find acceptance and equality as he is. And if you think I'm reading too much into this, please remember that Run for Your Life hits the ground running with an attempted lynching. Yes, the episode can be a bit preachy at times and slides ever so slightly into the white savior trope, but everything seems to be done out of Duncan's sense of justice and how he sees the world. For guest stars this season, I'm going to give 4 out of 5 katanas. Again, I seem to be on a roll with 4 out of 5 because, this season the stunt casting is toned down in favor of the story. Master of Swords this time was stuntman David Boucher. Boucher's professional career spans 40 years with over 400 theater credits and 45 films, including Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Mad Love, and Northern Exposure. For Best Fight, my money's on Unholy Alliance Part 2, Duncan vs. Xavier St. Cloud. In Unholy Alliance 1 and 2, Xavier teams up with Horton to track and kill immortals, in particular Duncan. I really enjoyed the build up to this fight. The last time Xavier and Duncan met, Xavier escaped, but Duncan was able to cut off his hand. They spar about 4 times before eventually getting down to business, with each getting their licks in. And I especially liked how they incorporate the hook Xavier has for a replacement hand. It shows that he truly is a master swordsman and more than a match for McCloud. The final battle takes place all throughout a French chateau, ending in the sculpture garden. So for fights, I'm actually going to break my streak and give it 3 out of 5 katanas. They try to tone down the fights this season, with some episodes not even having fights at all, but each fight does have meaning, so it's a bit of a balance. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Our Golden Clan McCloud Broadsword Award goes to the whole complete episodes of Counterfeit 1 and 2, in which, after 3 times of trying this season, Horton tries to kill Duncan once more. Let's talk about Horton's plan, just for a minute. First, Horton uses one of his agents, named Pete, to befriend Richie and make McCloud suspicious. Meanwhile, he has a murderer broken out of jail, and then, through the magic of plastic surgery, is made to look and act like Tessa. Then he has Pete shot in front of Richie and Duncan in order to stir the pot more. And lastly, he uses the murderer, now played by Alexander Vandermoot in a guest starring role on the show that she used to be on, as a honeypot to trap McCloud, which works because Duncan immediately sleeps with her. And of course, what happens? The plan fails. It fails. It was too elaborate not to, and truth be told, I don't think Horton really wants to win. I think he secretly actually wants to be an immortal, and this is his version of the game, and Duncan is the only one that will play with him. So that is season 2 in the bag. It was definitely better than season 1, as most shows are. It's here that we get into the meat and potatoes of the characters and even add to the show's mythology with both the Watchers and the Hunters. Plus, Duncan gets an arch nemesis by the name of James Horton. So that's it for Mac and Me. Duncan will return in season 3 as he learns about the oldest living immortal mythos. In the meantime, please like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Instagram at Mistress of the Imaginarium. And I will see you later.